Hi everyone, my name's Adam McIntosh from the RAND Group, and today I want to take you through some of my learnings from building agents within Business Central. And today's session is called The Truth Behind BC Agents. Now, BC Agents are a tool or a feature within Business Central, and they have a nice sweet spot that we found where they're useful. And so I want to start there. So where do these agents really shine? Well, they shine where you need to analyze some sort of data from within Business Central, put that to potentially some sort of staging area for then human review. So you need that structured workflow where there is human review. And it's really good at some of those because what you can do is you can take some of the data, like I said, put it to a staging table, and then have the agent prompt the user for action or for review before that agent ends up executing on that action. So really good at those structured workflows. Now, I find it's better at lower effort workflows or low lift type of scenarios, but it's really good at getting some quick wins in those low effort, quick win scenarios because, quite frankly, it is really easy to use. For those that have tried the tool, you'll find it's actually very, very easy to engage with it and actually get completed your first agent. Because, quite frankly, the system and the tool are designed for ease of use. It's designed for simplicity, and it's all within the Business Central user interface. Now, because it's so simple and easy to use, that actually leads to some of the constraints within the tool itself, which I want to talk about next. So given the simplicity of the tool, you'll notice it lacks some of the features that pro developers or those in the AI community are really looking for. So the first and most obvious one is the lack of model selection. It doesn't allow you to select the AI model that you're going to use for the particular task because certain models are better than others at various tasks. So I call that kind of a black box. It's just a one size fits all. You don't really have any options there. It's just going to use whatever model it determines. Second, there can be permission issues. I noted on here that when you enable and disable the agent, it will enable and disable any access to third-party applications. Now, with RAND group applications, we've got a button on the users table to assign permissions, but you can run into issues with third-party applications there as well. The other thing I'll note on permissions is these agents are treated just like a user. They have their own permission sets. They have their own permissions and their own roles. So you've got to be really careful that you put the proper security in place for each agent such that it doesn't do something that you, quite frankly, don't want it to do. And last but not least, we've actually noticed some what I'll call inconsistent behavior. So you can give the same instructions to the same data set on, using all the same code and everything. And you might find that the agent isn't always consistent from one execution to the next. So definitely notice some of that inconsistency. And again, it's part of just this black box where you don't have as much control over the agent. So to counteract that, you probably need to be very, very specific with some of your instructions, which not all users are necessarily great at. Now, taking this a step further, we've also noticed some of these agents can be what I'll call a little bit lazy. So they might truncate lists. There might be some poor filtering. Now, there are some workarounds to those, and those use AL code to make sure you read the full list before passing it to the agent, or if you're reading from multiple pages in Business Central, amalgamating those and giving the agent a singular list. But those all lead to the ultimate kind of issue with these agents in that they rely on a developer. So ultimately, users can create the agents within a sandbox. They can write really great prompts, really detailed prompts to get around some of the earlier issues I talked about. But if you don't have an AL developer, which AL is the code used by Business Central, you cannot package that and use it in a production environment. So it has this developer dependency, which from an end user perspective is a major challenge. Users like myself who work at a Microsoft partner, who have access to developers, we can iterate and get some really quick wins through some of these agents quite easily because we have access to those developers. if you don't have access to that developer, you're going to run into a lot of roadblocks. So, and that's the area I want to take pause at and really focus on, because that is going to be a challenge for most users in adopting these agents. So ultimately, if you don't have a developer to package that agent and deploy it into your production system, the tool is not going to be as useful. Now, you can rely on your partners to help you with that, and us at RAND Group, we can aid with that. But that is going to be a big adoption barrier for a number of end users. So ultimately, from my perspective as a partner, we can help with those services. We can help you with the agents. We can help you with the deployment. That's another avenue for us to aid you with and support. But if I am an end user, I am a little bit disappointed in the fact that I need to rely on that specialized skill set. So that utility to those end user group can be a little bit limited. Now, to get around some of these challenges, we do offer a couple alternatives. So, like I said, BC Agent's great at that human in the loop workflow that I show on the right hand side of the screen here. Those multi-stage, multi-step workflows where you need that confirmation. What I'll say, maybe simpler workflows is again where it shines. Now, we often find users confuse some of those scenarios with what can just be simple automation. So they look to put in agents because they can get some quick wins where standard code would potentially work a lot better. Agents consume tokens each time they're run, and so there is a cost to those. Whereas if you just put in, a code customization, in this case, what I refer to as AL code, because again, that's the coding language used by Business Central, you'll find that just simple automation is a lot better. A lot of times users are requesting just simple, deterministic, repetitive tasks be automated, and that's where code is best used. And that code, obviously, if you're not a developer, has a one-time cost to developing it, implementing it, but from there, you have it for life, and it should work. Now, there is what I'll call more of a hybrid scenario wherein you might need natural language understanding or multi-step reasoning, and so that's where AI can be useful. So what we often will end up doing is combining both AL code as well as an Azure AI call from within that code to provide a more holistic solution. And we found a lot of success with that. And so that's what I want to talk about next. So when you start combining that AL code again, which is more automation, with calling OpenAI or through Azure, you can get some more reliable results and more consistent results because the AI portion is only executing on a very small part of that overall task. So because it's just executing on the part where you really truly need it, and code or automation's taking care of the rest, you have a lot more visibility to what gets executed. You can control what's sent to the AI model as well. Further, you can even determine which AI models you want to use. So if you are finding maybe some issues with executing those BC agents, this might be a hybrid solution. It does require some knowledge of AL coding and development practices, but if you were going to be using those AI agents in a production scenario anyway, you probably needed some of that expertise to begin with. So that is an area or an option we definitely recommend. Again, these agents do have a purpose, a good place for their use, and that's, again, those simple workflows. But this is an alternative where things are maybe a little bit more complicated or a little bit more complex. I hope you enjoyed that overview. We tried to give an honest review of the BC agents and where they're most useful today. Microsoft does continue to invest in those, and we're excited to see where they take that functionality in the future. Thanks, everyone. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our team via info@randgroup.com.